Hi, Rain Kansman, Chapter 2 of We Are All Leaders on Moving Towards Balance. If you think about it at today's pace of life, with so many responsibilities, attractive options, demands, distractions, balance may seem like an impossible dream for you. And it's not an easy concept. There's a simple process, and we'll talk about that. But it's not an easy process because things keep coming at us. Life is changing all the time. I had a real experience about this. I'd already been and knew about this concept and worked on this concept and even taught this concept. And yet, it was 4 years after I'd started learning and working and talking about this concept that I actually had my biggest test. I had a job where I just had so much on my plate. And it was for the first time in my life, I was having a real difficult time getting my arms around everything that I felt I was responsible for. I happened to be on the weekend. I happened to be out cutting wood with my chainsaw and looking at, we had a holiday weekend coming up and couldn't figure out how I was going to be able to take that time away from what was so important, what I was doing. What I wasn't focusing in on was the chainsaw. And I had an accident, and the chainsaw bounced off my face and left me with a scar, several stitches, visit to the hospital, visit to the pharmacy to get pain pills. And I healed, as you can see. There's hardly a trace, and I'm very blessed. It was about 3 months after that accident that I really learned the lesson. I was laying in bed with my daughter, reading her a nighttime story, and she was tracing my scar and said, "Daddy, does that hurt?" And I said, "No, honey, it doesn't." She goes, "You were lucky." I said, "I know." I said, "I could have lost an eye because the scar's right across here, right?" She goes, "No, Dad, you could have cut your whole head off." My eyes just welled with water. I had really not gotten the idea that everything I thought was so important at that time, everything I thought was, I had overinflated my abilities, overinflated my responsibility, and really reprioritized the wrong things as important things in my world at that particular time. Nothing was more important than me focusing in on what I was doing, especially when it comes to a dangerous piece of equipment. So we can get out of balance no matter how much we've learned or heard. And hopefully you never learn a lesson like that. But for me, that really deepened the emphasis for staying focused and staying in balance. We have the three components, right? When I'm talking about balance, I'm talking about the balance of your career, what you do professionally and how you grow professionally. Your family, which is not only is your extended family, but close friends, and yourself. How do you grow personally? Health, spirituality, mind, those kind of things. And when those are in balance, we're more productive. But balance is a fluid state. It's always in motion because life is dynamic, right? We have children, but that adds something. As beautiful as the children are, as much as we wanted them, okay? We might have a parent that gets sick. We might be the one that gets sick. All these things change our focus and our priorities, right? We will always be moving away from or towards balance because of that. So, what I'd like to do is have you do determine your balance exercise, right? When you looked at that, where are you now, right? In those components. Very simple exercise to do. Where are you now? Where do you want to be? Right? That's our starting point, where you are today, and where you want to be is your goal. So then we have to figure out how we're going to get there, right? People believe that balance is continuing to have everything they have today with less guilt and with less pain. But the challenge is everything they have today could be the challenge. Right? Saying yes to things that we've never made room for, right? saying, not saying no to things that we should have said no to because we didn't have the courage at the time or thought we were going to lose our job or something along that time, right? So going through this course isn't a silver bullet. It's a constant work in progress as you go through that. It's about seeing the circumstances in your life, clarifying what's really important, and moving from perspective to choice. So what do we use as a guide? Values are our guide to what's important. I believe that values are more important than goals. And here's what I mean by that. When I do the values exercise with folks, what do you really value? People get passionate about what they value. I value trust, honesty, integrity. I value my family. I value my friendships. I value my ability to do this. Goals, well, you have the goal meetings, the annual goal meetings. How'd you do? Well, I hit 4%, I hit 5%. There's not that same passion. Now, ideally, we'll get into this later, that goals should tie into your values and then everything's ideal. But when we values, for instance, when I'm at the end of the day and I can look at myself in the mirror and say, I upheld my values today. That's a good day. I was honest. I wanted to be honest, and I stayed honest today. I wanted to do this thing with my family, and I made that happen. That's where values come in, and that's why values are so important. Okay? So, the other thing, if you look at, you have a couple of examples. I want to bring out Enron Corporation. Had phenomenal goals. But somewhere along that line, they lost their values, right? They lost sight of their values. Another one's Lance Armstrong. Phenomenal at goal setting and putting those together, but apparently lost sight of his values too and how he was going to get there. Okay? So as we go through that, choice is saying no at sometimes, even though it may be difficult, and committing to that decision. Why? Because the benefits of balance are huge. When I'm in balance, I am consistently doing what I want when I want to. Balance is not about perfect balance between all three of those components. You determine what's the perfect percentages for each one of those, depending on where you are in your life, right? But when I'm in balance, it allows me to be present in the moment. I have less guilt, less stress. I'm happier, I'm healthier. Therefore, I'm able to accomplish so much more in each component. All right, Chapter 2. So go ahead and fill out your exercise for Chapter 2 on your plan on how you're going to move from where you are today to where you want to be.